Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SB Reviews, where today we're going to be checking out a track from an act named the Reegonetti Band titled A Place of Dread off of their Songs from the Raven's Nest album. And if we switch over to here, my understanding is that this album was released as of May, so quite recently. We're going to be listening through this track from start till finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. So predominantly keys and drums. It's just a really interesting arrangement, isn't it? I like the different synth sounds and the keys and tones there, and there's lots of variation within the drum fills with different lead and backing parts. The vocals on the top are kind of like the icing on the cake. Really great start to an album. There's such a charisma to the vocal performance as well as the different synth melodies. I appreciate that. The bass line is all kind of pumping along. And his little music box as well with the laughter. Different time sig? Great use of the mod wheel there, or the pitch wheel. Because, like, as I understand it, the Reegonetti Band, they're like a two-piece. I think Borje Reinholdsen is the drummer-singer, and then keyboardist is Ronald Vikstrom. And so, like, I hear these lead passages, and a lot of time in, like, progressive rock and progressive metal, they typically have them on guitars. But I don't actually... I think this sounds really good. I like the use of the bit, like, it kind of sounds like bends and, like, pitch wheels and, like, unison parts and everything like that. It's got a great sense of flow to it. It seems like they really put a lot of effort into trying to make that solo special. Another sort of lead section, I suppose. A bit of bluesy phrasing there. Tremendous. Shows a really solid understanding of the fundamentals as well as a lot more than that. I'm going to have a quick read through the lyrics and then we're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. And welcome to the conclusion, my review of this track from an act named Reegonetti Band, titled A Place of Dread, off of the songs from the Raven's Nest album. Now, what do I think this track is about? I think it's about someone either literally going through like a kind of a dark, kind of scary place with like hearing laughter and like voices and kind of like wolves howling and like, you know, all this kind of spooky stuff, or it's figurative and they're kind of imagining that it's happening inside their own head and it's not actually real, but they don't know what to believe and whatnot. So I'm wondering if it's kind of like a paranoia kind of thing as well. I mean, considering the songs in the Raven's Nest kind of aesthetic of the album title, it kind of gives me the impression that these could kind of be spooky, kind of scary things that we're discussing here. And I kind of dig that. I think it's a great angle, and I think there'll be people who are interested in hearing these stories. The vocal performance was absolutely spectacular. I loved the way we phrased things. I liked that we allowed enough time for the instrumental backing with the keyboards and the drum parts to have their own sort of like presence in the mix before we kind of came on top of it, sort of sung our truth, and we entertained, and it was great control of the head chest voice, very prominent technique there, nice bit of vibrato there. The harmonies in the chorus and the first half of each take were just illustrious in the different vocal ranges and different pitches and octave steps, and just ultimately it was incredibly passionate, charismatic, and really it was great to listen to. They clearly can sing, they know what they're doing, and I think that we sold it in a way that was kind of true to the genre. It was also just being accessible to people who may not have actually heard much of this before. I think that if you are a massive fan of like the progressive stuff, you could still probably get a high in this without any issues. The track itself, 430 or 428, is really nicely fleshed out. You have a lot of range there with the different drum parts as well as the different sort of key parts with leads, synth leads there, with some organish kind of parts there, some basses, some sort of chordal paddle stuff. You know, there's a lot to appreciate there. I don't think we were missing anything there, despite the fact that it was a two-piece, and there was just so much going on throughout the arrangement. It's not just the fact that we had the instruments, you know, we also had like the laughing or like the foley of like the spooky sounds. We had the music box as a little thing in between the verse and the chorus as like a bridge to kind of lead us over. It kind of did make it sound like it was going to be like a horror film or something like that. I appreciate the effort to not only playing the instruments well, but also creating this aesthetic orally inside the piece that kind of helped you as a listener to imagine what they were talking about, like you were there yourself, like you were that person experiencing it. With a contemporary song structure, but with very sort of like smooth transitions between there, it was like constant enough that you could kind of predict what was going to happen next, but at the same time it was also pleasurable because there was enough variation within the individual performances, as well as like little bits of development occasionally and slight adjustments with layers, that it never became like a little bit too sort of samey. You know, it was great that we had those different lead layers on top and stuff like that. But to talk about a few of the instruments in the way that I appreciated those, I think I'm actually going to start with the drums. I thought it was a tremendously tight percussive performance there. We were very comfortable across the span of the drum kit. We were very sort of adequate with the way that we performed our sort of functions with the various sort of like drum fills and simple grooves and everything like that. We were comfortable with the kind of, because those kind of breaks there at the end of each sort of chorus line, as a drummer, I understand it's difficult to get those tight, as well as like literally the rest of it. We never overplayed. We kind of pocketed it when we needed to. We performed the function of bringing everything with the different synth and bass parts up with the vocals, but we also provided enough intrigue and interest with our own efforts that it was well balanced. I also liked that we knew when not to be there, to kind of allow the drums to sort of be absent for certain parts, for them to sort of like hover. The keys, though, were another star of the show. I appreciated not only the lead lines there when we were very sort of like, we were wonderfully eloquent with the phrasing and the mid to higher ranges there. We also had some interesting bass patterns there, which had a great sort of sizzle to them. It was beautiful. It sounded really pretty in parts there. There was a wonderment and magic and mystery to it which added to the experience. The chord choices we used flowed wonderfully and really neatly harmonically between each other, and I think that even if we had some chromatics in some of the lead sections there, we never kind of went too out of the box with it. It was consistent across the board with the intensity, apart from with the music box parts, but I don't think that detracted from the experience. If anything, it just helped you to get more used to it, and I appreciate that they were able to do what they were able to do with it. It's really cool. I hope that the rest of the album is as strong as this track. I also want to give a shout out to the use again of like the pitch wheels and stuff and the legato phrasing and all that on those key solo parts. They are really incredible. It's difficult to get those handled and to also understand that often less is more in certain parts, and sort of like ascend or descend like that is good. But the theme overall, I mean, like the chord choices there, the parallel, major, minor, chromatic, modular shifts, should I say? Like a lot of it was meant to sound almost like a big adventure, but the spookiness of the tones of the instruments implied there that there was something sneaky going on, as well as again the foley of like the laughing and everything like that. So you had majors and minors, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of Thriller from Michael Jackson for some reason with some of the elements there, but it's stuck to its roots well. When that interlude section as well, we had things going in and out and just kind of sat there and sort of like the music kind of came in and out like in waves. That's more of a post-production thing, I suppose, but just I want to talk about that as well. It was nice to have that break there. But yeah, I was more about supporting the vocals as they were the main focal point with those lead solos on other sides of that. And ultimately, I don't think there was a weak point, there wasn't any filler, and I don't think there was a note out of place. The studio recording, mixing, and mastering was great. I liked the presence of the vocals in the mix alongside the different key and drum parts there with the different positions of those bass, synth, lead, and pad parts. They were solid there. Things were nice and wide in the stereo field there. Things were nicely leveled within the frequency spectrum as well, with no resonant frequencies. There was dynamic range there. Things were not the same loudness all the time. Like for example, things came down in that music box section and they were a bit more sort of like chilled out there. Well, not like it relaxed, but what I mean is they were a bit quieter there. And you had those fluctuations with those foley parts as well as the interlude where things went in and out there, and you're trying to sort of like figure out the mystique of what was going on there. But that was exciting, and it was still nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting were handled. I mean, effectively, this is my review of this track from an act named the Reegonetti Band, titled A Place of Dread, off of these songs from the Raven's Nest album. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show us some love via their various social medias and their Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.